Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Monday, August 27th, and we're still in a weird position where your choices are, and I'll ask for feedback here, while I'm suffering from insomnia, which seems to only push me in one of two directions. Either I stay up till about noon, or I stay up until about 6, and that means either I can stream basically at the end of my day, like right now, around noon on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for Hearthstone, or I could go to sleep right now and then you're talking probably no stream until about 10 in the evening. Those are really the only two options. I've always been more suited towards a second or third shift, which is closer in the evening than waking up early and, well, anyways, I guess those are the options. Noon, right now it's noon or 10 in the evening. Which would you prefer to see me stream? Meanwhile, there's a challenge a friend I need to get done. Let's see if we got any new friend requests. The solo adventure of Hearthstone, the Boomsday project, has also screwed up a lot of things, but it also pushed me in a lot of different ways. Normally, I would have just put the footage out like the stream and just cut off the beginning of the ends parts and just get it a little bit tighter. That doesn't really work in this instance. It's not going to be something anybody wants to see if they just watch me for several hours bang my head against puzzles. So an editing was demanded. Editing needed to happen. And because of that, what do I have cards that need to be dusted? I decided to go a little bit further, do a little bit more work, and that inspired me to do some more work in general. One of the things I've finally given up and made a Patreon. I looked, as far as I can tell, Patreon does not have an inactivity amount where, you know, I just get kicked off and shut down, have my account shut down because nobody's donating. Ideally, it would be nice if somebody was donating $1 a month just to make sure. I need to win 5 games and 30 games of Paladin and Priest, and we don't have anything else, I guess, to do, so let's get into a game. So yes, one of the things is I made a Patreon. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and make an ending video that will just be attached automatically, not by YouTube, but by me, to every single video that gets uploaded starting in the new year. There's a good argument to be made that I probably, if I could do it, if any YouTuber could take a month off, I probably should take November off. Like, October is the big month for me. It's the Halloween games. And I was playing earlier today The Walking Dead Season 3, The New Frontier. But if I could take the month after October off and just say, you know what, I'm going to work on my channel and do something a little bit different, and that would be great. I'm not sure my channel really needs a month's worth of work, but if I simply was recording footage in November and not airing footage, that would help me be 1 month ahead instead of falling behind, which is what I'm pretty much constantly doing these days, is just falling further and further behind. One way to help me with that is the fact that I am going to release the solutions, just the solutions, edited down for the Boomsday puzzles, in kind of reverse order. I'm going to keep it as varied as possible, so it's not going to be a direct reverse order in how I did it, but it's going to be the last mirror, survival, mirror, board clear, and lethal, and just go in that order every day, starting whenever I get them uploaded, very possibly being tomorrow. These are going to be very short videos. I will unabashedly admit I added a beginning intro and a outro that was pretty long to make it 10 minutes in length. That's because I believe videos need to be 10 minutes in length to be monetized on YouTube, and I would want these videos to be monetized at some point if I'm ever back in the YouTube partner program, particularly since I think these videos, if I get them out fast enough, might have a chance of becoming these perennial favorites that people come back and check. Now, in doing that, this is the first time I've ever made videos that have an intro in them that's not just quick and lazily recorded during the point of recording, or an outro. Like I said, starting next year I plan to have an outro attached to all new videos, which will just stop me from saying the same thing at the end. So if I can just say it right and not go and it. The other thing is, in the instances of puzzles like this, if Hearthstone ever does puzzles again, I will have to slightly change my settings on my recorder that way it allows me to the settings on my recorder will allow me to just record the Hearthstone audio and not me talking. So the stream would still hear me talking, but the recorded footage would just be the sound effects of Hearthstone. That way I don't have to make an intro that then apologizes for the fact that many of these clips are simply just not going to make any sense because I'll be halfway through a conversation. Not that I really said too much that was interesting during the streaming of the Boomsday Puzzle Project. But yes, it certainly has inspired me to do some new things. I updated my Tumblr website, which I still have no clue how Tumblr works, and will update the description in all the videos if I can do that. I'm pretty sure I can, through a process of finding the old information starting from the bottom, removing all that old information, and then pasting the modified new version to the end of the description. That should work. If it doesn't work for any of the videos, it will end up with duplicate things at the end, which people would have to point out to me for me to find that out and know. Let's see. Magnetic. Lion shield. Summon. Kill this. Play this. And do this. In the turn. Playing The Walking Dead, I'm, I think, close to the end of episode 3 for Walking Dead New Frontier. The episodes are very short. It was really only at the beginning of episode 3 that I started to enjoy the story even a little bit, but it definitely has some problems, and I'm not 100% sure they're going to get fixed. What am I supposed to do? Kill that guy, I guess. guess that makes the most sense.
The battle.
I fight.
Just incredibly wrong, in my opinion, to have you not play as Clementine in Season 3. It doesn't make a lot of sense at all. Particularly now that I'm playing Season 3, having seen trailers for Season 4. There's also parts of the story that are obviously supposed to be surprises, but since I've seen trailers for Season 4, I kind of already know that what they're hinting at isn't the truth. Just keep on.
I comply. I fight.
There we go. I still have a ton of games because we didn't cover games last Friday. That really screwed up. The Boomsday project really took up a lot of my time. Took a whole week away from me, and right at the point where I let's see.
I fight.
Reporting for duty.
Let's
I fight.
hit this guy to get rid of the Divine Shield, and then in the turn. So we've got a ton of news to cover, whereas throughout this week I would be cool with just, I need to get, I guess, 2 daily quests done today, and then I would be cool with wrapping up and having longer streams on Wednesday and Friday. Although, to be fair, it would be a lot better if nothing happened on at any point, in the sense that the game would just happen quickly and I'd have more time to try and catch up. I suppose there's something we'll need to talk about, but let me wait until there's an elephant in the room. But let me wait until I get to the news, and so let's just go through all of this and see and start covering games. There's a game I'm looking at on Steam called Clone Adventures. It looks like it's a simplistic, maybe lemming style jump game, something like that. Seems like maybe you control or teach the lemming like characters. They look like minions. Maybe the idea is you control and teach them to not die. This game doesn't look amazingly good, and it reminds me that there is a considerable amount of games I looked at and filtered through. Most of them not worth mentioning. A few of them potentially might have been interesting that came out last week. Some of them were like free to play, some of them, one of them may have been an MMO, and so I just closed it for that. Clone Adventures certainly doesn't meet any of those requirements, however. Let's see. And that was not a victory. What is the other thing we can play as? Priests. Like, unsurprising, it's always Paladin and Priest, isn't it? Let's try Combo Priest. I don't think my Mech Paladin deck has the right cards in it. I think I'm missing too much. Next game we have on Steam is called Tired of Your Miserable Life. No, I'm sorry, it's called Lucid Path. The description says Tired of Your Miserable Life. You have decided to set out on an adventure. And this looks like it's an RPG 8-bit style game. Yeah, RPG Maker style So I don't think I have any interest there. English and Polish, $4.99. Moving on. It'll just be a few of these first games, I think, that actually I didn't sort through because they're brand new, and then we'll start seeing higher quality. Next game we have on Steam is called Spartacles, which is, it really just looks like it's a Unity effects experiment, playing as a rainbow ball. Everywhere you bounce is leaving particles and explosions and things, and trying to make it as ADD as possible. It seems like what it is a platforming game where you leave a dust particle trail to see where you're I gotta actually play to see where you can walk and where you can't, because it seems like there's no clear path and you're trying to reach portals and jump on other rainbow colored things. Honestly, if this had any visual style to it and not just it wasn't just a collection of ugly basic colorful particles, I might be interested in it. Spartacles is 15% off for $8.49. Let's see if I was going to be really generous and go and see if this developer has developed anything else. No, they haven't, so they have no credibility. Let's see.
Is someone injured?
I comply.
Should have played that one. Rock Paper Shotgun has an article. 99 Floors developers wants to pay you $5,000 for beating it. Let's see. So apparently this game is either really bad, which it looks like it could be really bad and annoying. It seems like it's one of those games that's designed to kill you over and over again and drive you crazy. Like, he calls 99 floors and it's 99 and then the word floors with no space. The hardest game ever. Let's see. He says that nobody's beaten the game since it was released 3 months ago, despite over 1,000 people buying a copy. So how much is this? Let's see. It's $10 for the game. If he's gotten $10 for 1,000 copies, then he's potentially offering half of his profits or his revenue as a giveaway, which I'm just $5,000 to advertise your game makes sense. I don't know if putting a $5,000 prize up is worth it though, but that's the best way to advertise your game. You could probably spend $5,000 a little bit better through other methods of advertising. Moving on, PC Gamer has an article. Streets of Rage 4 announced. .emu has partnered with Sega to create a new hand-drawn beat-em-up. I kind of thought this was already announced, but maybe not. Maybe they were just releasing Streets of Rage remakes or something. Swap a minion's attack and health. Double minion's health. Yeah, let's do this. So they're showing a character called Axel Stone and Blaze Fielding. Streets of Rage is a punks on the street beat 'em up game that was in arcades. I certainly definitely remember playing it when I was a kid. And so there's a male character and a female character. The question, of course, will be how good is this game now? It's been a long time since probably Streets of Rage 3 has been made, and they're saying Streets of Rage was actually a Sega Genesis game, but I remember playing something very similar to it in the arcades. Yeah, it'd be cool to hear more about it. Unfortunately, it's just been announced and teased with a trailer, and that's it. Okay, next game we have on Steam is called Ammo Pigs Armed and Delicious. It's just an 8-bit looking shooting game. Looks like it's a platformer of sorts too. Doesn't look too different from like Commander Keen.
Access denied.
If I want to reference a really old game. There you go. What are you gonna do now?
That's incredible.
Let's see. Ammo Pigs is 10% off for $1.79. I think it's an easily skippable game. Oh look. Yeah, the only other game this developer's made is called Wacky Wheels HD, which is rated negatively at 32%. PC Gamer has an article. The remake, a remake, I suppose. It just says remake. Why am I misquoting? Let me just say it what it says. Remake of Resident Evil remake wouldn't be laughable, says Capcom. Remake Inter Selecta is the subtitle. Let's see. Capcom plans to explore more remakes following Resident Evil 2. We've learned earlier this month where exactly it will cast its net remains to be seen, but it seems reimagining the Resident Evil remake isn't out of the question. And while normally I would be kind of critical of remaking a remake, the truth is they dropped the ball on the Resident Evil 1 remake, so a reboot remake versus a remaster remake, which is which you generally wouldn't use both of those terms together. You wouldn't say reboot remake or remaster remake in the same. You'd either say reboot or remaster and leave it at that. Like, I could totally see if they do a good job on the remake of Resident Evil 2 and for them to remake Resident Evil 1, and then they can move over to Resident Evil 3 and think about what they're going to do with like Resident Evil 0 and Code Veronica and all those other side missions. And by the time they've cleared all of that off the field, they probably would be perfectly set and suited to remake Resident Evil 4. I'm not getting very many victories. I'm dropping down the ladder. Let's try Spiteful Priest. Still haven't found a plugin that guarantees duplicate tabs don't stay open. The plugin I'm using right now seems like it works, but it doesn't. I'm still finding duplicate tabs, so I don't know if this is a case of perhaps PC Gamer in particular, because that's what I'm seeing right now, has found some way to just release the same page a couple of times. Wouldn't put that past them for 1 second. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article, Pokemon Detective Pikachu movie coming in summer 2019. Let's see. Will release in cinemas summer December 19. No indication if that's a worldwide release or what.
Greetings.
Gematsu has an article, Digimon Survive Aoi, Shibuya, Minoi, Hyuga, Labramon, and Falcom screenshots. So those are named, the first two are names of characters from Digimon Survive, and the second two are names of Digimon. Which there is some weirdness there with Digimon, where the Pokemon series for the most part has kind of implied that you're playing as the same character in every Pokemon game. You're playing as yourself, and you, of course you yourself is the same character throughout each of the games. And in the anime they kind of reinforce that, because you have Ash Ketchum always being the main protagonist of this Yu-Gi-Oh! Of the Pokemon series. Whereas the Digimon series, in their games, are kind of completely different characters, I think. And while the first season and the second season had the same characters, the second season had those characters several, what felt like several years later. And after that second series, there was definitely any more Digimon series seemed to be just random new characters. As for the two characters I'm saying now, they seem like older teenagers, whereas Digimon also started in its first season as having the characters be pre-teenagers. The Digimon themselves, they look more like Pokemon than Digimon in my opinion, but I'm not sure there's too much you could really do there. Fix that. Everything is just going to look like Pokemon as Pokemon continue to make more and more different varieties of themselves. Digimon Survive is due for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC via Steam in 2019 in Japan. It'll be... oh, no, it says, period. In Japan, it'll only be released on the PlayStation 4 and Switch. So no Xbox One or PC version in Japan. I heard a rumor that I have a tendency to want to believe that the PlayStations in Japan controllers are actually 10% smaller than they are in the rest of the world, because Japanese people's hands just tend to be smaller. That seems very believable, and it certainly could make a lot of sense as far as the failure of the Xbox series, Xbox One to Xbox 360, the original Xbox, all didn't sell very well in Japan, and I imagine controllers that don't feel good in the hands of Japanese people would be a big part of that. Of course, I think the consoles themselves are also too big for a Japanese style house or abode.
Is someone injured?
Moving on, TechRaptor has an article, Pendula Swing Episode 1 and 2, Swing a Clip. Let's see. So, what is this game? It looks like a PC game, but it could be. They're just showing me random collections of other games. Well, whatever. It is a Steam game. It's rated by TechRaptor a 5.0. Summary: a fantastic setting saves Pendula Swing's first two episodes from being a waste of time, but boring gameplay glitches, short running time, and a plot that barely moves drags it all out. Pros: fantastic setting, multiple ways to advance. Cons: plot barely moves, little to do, extremely short and glitchy. extremely short, little to do, and glitchy also are great descriptors of The Walking Dead Telltale game. It's just not good. There's an actual point where you are carrying a woman who's been shot in The Walking Dead, and she's leaning her head on your shoulder. And because they don't have a physics engine and they can't animate anything easily, her neck is just stretching out and in, out and in. It's like her head was glued to his shoulder, and then there was just a tube pretending to be her neck that was elastic. Her shoulders aren't moving or anything out there. It looks completely inhuman, completely awful. It is only a brief second that you see that, but a brief second was more than what you needed. Looking at Pendulous Swing Episode 1, it is mixed reviews, 68% of 15 user reviews, and came out August 15th. And TechRaptor did disclose that they got this game from the creators for free, which that's an interesting thought. Also, Episode 1 is free to play, but Episode 2 is $4.24. Is no news good news, or any news good news as far as video games count? Like, are you really at a point where if your game is not selling it anyways on Steam, you might as well just get people to play it and review it, even if they're going to give it a bad review? Maybe. I could certainly see that might be the market for video games. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. Any advertisement might be worth it. Next game we have on Steam is called Amethylion. Amethylion. Says it's an action-adventure RPG. Again, looks like it's 8-bit animation. Looks a little bit closer to MS Paint than a standard RPG maker, and really just feels like it is stealing everything from Stardew Valley. I don't see anything here that would interest me. It's 30% off for $1.39, but nope, I'm getting pickier and pickier. And playing these cheap games. I don't think it's gonna get me anywhere. Okay, we now need some more victories, and I need somebody to jump on and play me. So if anybody wants to friend me, it's RYDO number 1423. I'm on the Americas account. That's who I need to play right now. You can friend me on the others accounts just fine, but
I will fight with honor.
America's is what I need to play. TechRaptor has an article. H1Z1 successor Just Survive. So the game they're talking about is Just Survive, and so often we see video game journals do this, where they reference another game in the title to get clicks and clickbait. Just Survive is shutting down in October. So yeah, I don't think anybody liked Just Survive. I think that's probably because, if I recall correctly, Just Survive was like a battle royale twist on H1Z1 while abandoning everything that was H1Z1 and that the fan base who liked the H1Z1 would have wanted. And I believe Just Survive was called H1Z1 Battlegrounds at some point. Let's see, Just Survive was originally released back in 2015 under the name H1Z1. The game was immensely popular on release, selling over 1 million copies within a 2-month span. In February, let's see. In February 2016, Daybreak, the company, split H1Z1 into 2 separate projects with different aims and bespoke developed teams. The first was H1Z1 Just Survive, which continued the player versus environment cooperative building of H1Z1 and later dropped the H1Z1 branding to become Just Survive. The second was King of the Kill, a player versus player focused battle royale spin-off. King of the Kill was later renamed to just H1Z1 in 2017, so they've gone in complete circles with this naming. I mean, straight up, this is just bait and switch naming at that point. Unlike Just Survive, H1Z1 will continue to be supported by Daybreak's games. So, they're not shutting down the Battle Royale one, they're shutting down the other one that was immensely popular. Interesting. Like, interesting. The Entertainment Software Association apparently has a Twitter, and they tweeted out a net neutrality picture response that also links. I need to follow the ESA, and maybe I'll have to mute them eventually. There seems to be also an ESA Foundation and an ESA Government Affairs team, but I doubt I, as a video game critic, need to follow their sub-teams. Just keep on playing. Let's see. The thing they tweeted out is like bullet point 1 says the FCC incorrectly asserts that bright line rules aren't necessary to protect the open internet. Bright line rules being net neutrality rules of some sort, I assume. 2, the FCC failed to assess the cost and benefits of stripping net neutrality protection from the books. I imagine this was filed as a friend of the court brief. Not a brief. I think it's called a Meritos or statement. And then 3, it says the FCC claims to have no legal authority to adopt net neutrality protection, flies in the face of previous rulings. And see, that's one of the nefarious, weird things about what the FCC and Ajit Pai is trying to do, and just the Trump administration in general is trying to do, is not only are they trying to kill net neutrality, they're trying to get them and the Supreme Court potentially to rule that they never, that the Obama administration and previous administrations never had the authority in the first place to implement net neutrality. Therefore, net neutrality could never be reinstated, or would have a more difficult time being reinstated in the future, which is just silly and ridiculous in my opinion. Let's see. It makes an argument that the government doesn't have the authority to do whatever it wants, particularly when it is the Congress and the Senate that is the Senate and the House of Representatives, or Congress is both of those combined, that gave those authorities, and the president that honored those authorities. And it's the Constitution that gave the authorities to the Congress and the President to create and claim those authorities for themselves. And even before the Constitution, If you're really, you can say all governments have the authority to enact law. That's what a government is.
The light protects me.
Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Metal Brigade Tactics. Looks like an RPG where you play as mechs, but it also looks awful and not widescreen. It's going to be really hard going forward for me to justify playing any game that's not widescreen, particularly brand new ones. Metal Brigade Tactics is 10% off for $8.99. No thank you. Let's see. Give a minion. Just go ahead and attack here and see what happens. Let's see, maybe I'll play Redemption later. GameIndustry.biz has a article, Jobs Roundup. Former PlayStation CFO joins Catalyst Group board. Lucid Games welcomes Kristjan, Kristjan Zadzouk, Zadziuk, Sarah Schachner, Schachner, announced as anthem composer. So, like, it sounds to me, and this is probably not true, but it's starting to feel a lot like the entirety of Sony Entertainment is just shutting down, and that they, for some reason, Sony would want to pull out of the video game industry as far as making games. Maybe they just want to be hardware only. It'd be really crazy if they want to pull out completely for no reason. It wouldn't be a very Japanese thing to do either, for Sony to say we're just pulling out of the rest of the world market. I mean, that would make sense, but then I don't think they could afford to do it. And if they're going to pull out of the Japanese market, then that would be total insanity.
Converting stored energy.
Okay. Not ready to play that. Chat. Says Andrew Lawton, former CFO at Sony PlayStation, has been appointed to the board of the tech conglomerate the Catalyst Group as its corporate finance and strategy director. Oh. So that's one article. Lucid Games welcomes ex-Ubisoft animated director Kristjan Zadzouk to work on an unannounced project. So that's a different story. This jobs roundup, the way it's phrased at GameIndustry.biz is completely different than the way its jobs roundups are phrased and what that means, you know, on Gamma Sutra's website, which I'm more familiar with. Sarah Schachner to compose the anthem score. I think that's probably the least interesting thing. Also, the Artcraft Entertainment appoints a new VP of Marketing. BioWare and Sony veteran Debbie Sue Wolfkale, all these names are very strange, has been hired as the new VP of Marketing for Artcraft Entertainment. I'd be interested to see if, like, what half of these companies do, because I haven't heard half of their names. Let's keep on playing. Carrie Tefner joins GameStop's board of directors. The Crocs executive vice president and CFO has joined the GameStop board of directors, which probably means she still works at Crocs if she's just joining the board of directors, but you never really know. That's part of the problem with the massive wealth inequality, the criminal wealth inequality as it should be described as in the United States. Is one of the many things that needs to be fixed is you shouldn't be allowed to be given a job where you're sitting on a board and really not doing anything, very possibly showing up for 3 meetings a year and getting hundreds of thousands of dollars salary for it. Like, if payment must be a person selling their time, which is often the idea that is pushed onto poor people and the working class. Let's equate that to the rich people too and tell them, look, no, you can't be paid this much for that amount of time you're paid. That inherently doesn't really solve the problem. I think inherently you need to say, look, you get two jobs, maximum 3 jobs. We don't want anybody working more than 3 jobs. A poor person could not be working more than 3 jobs, or shouldn't be working more than 3 jobs. Of course, there's a lot of other things that need to be done too. I've heard a statistic, and I'm not sure it's 100% accurate, but it certainly sounds believable, that the top 3 richest people in the United States own 50% of all the wealth, all the value in the United States, and that's just shouldn't be the case. Moving on, Tim Horton assumes the role of CEO at Universally Speaking. Game support service company Universally Speaking has moved Tim Horton into the role of CCO from his previous position as business developer manager. And see, I don't really have any way to respond to that because in theory this would be somebody moving up and a good thing, but I'm sorry, my hate for rich people and management still is far too much of a bias. There is also something interesting as I scroll through this. Only 2 of the 5 people that I've talked about look like they are old enough and have worked long enough to deserve to be at such high positions. The rest of them look far too young, like mid-20s, early 30s. One thing you can say for Gabe Newell is, for as awful as he looks physically, medically speaking, he definitely looks old enough to be the CEO of Steam.
Reporting for duty.
Moving on, MAG Interactive appoints a new CMO. Patrice Blixit has joined the Swedish developer and publisher of MAG Interactive. I don't know why I'm reading this article. I don't think I'm going to be reading these articles going forward. They seem to be kind of outside of what I care about, frankly. So my own personal lack of interest is pushing me not to read these. I thought these were going to be job listings for people getting into the industry, which I like that idea. I like helping people get their dream jobs. I don't like the idea of seeing a bunch of people, rich people, acting cronyistic and giving jobs to their friends, which I think is what a lot of this is, and a lot of people who look way too young and don't look like they've worked sometimes a day in their life getting very high level positions. Moving on though, Hutch hires a new senior designer. and client engineer Mark Brittle and Martin Payne. And that's the end of that article. And going forward, I'm gonna just avoid articles like that. I did not enjoy reading that article quite a bit.
Reporting for duty.
Moving on, Gamatsu has an article. Xbox All Access financing plan announced. We've heard rumors of this. It includes an Xbox One system, an Xbox Live Gold account, and an Xbox Games Pass. And it's an interesting offering, certainly. I'm not sure I'm 100% in agreement with it being a good value, but financing plan might be the way. It's going the cell phone idea. So the Xbox One S plan starts at $22 a month, while if you want to get an Xbox One X instead of S for Slim, X for Extreme, that's $35 a month. Now $35 a month is a lot of money. You're talking, that's like one line on a family plan in the United States for your cell phone, which arguably spending money on your cell phone plan is probably a pretty expensive expenditure also.
Access denied.
But yeah, that is a lot, but it's not terrible. 24 months times $35 is putting you somewhere around, what would that be?
Unity, precision,
700 plus another 120. Yeah, it's about 840. Just doing some rough math in my head. $840. Which, yeah, $840 is real money, certainly. It's a lot of real money, but it's not terrible, because you probably still spend $600 on a game, on a game console. And if you're buying a lot of games, you're probably going to spend more than that in 2 years either. What it, I suppose, boils down to is, if you're only getting 3 games a year, let's just keep it with Combo Priest. If you're only getting 3 games a year, and that is $60 each, that would be $180. Plus you have to have Xbox Live, which I believe is another $60. So you're up to $240 already. $240 plus a Xbox One X for $600, which I think is the price. You're already up to $840, and that's in the first year. The second year, when you buy 3 more games, you're talking another $180. So it does seem like it's a pretty good deal. It also seems like it would be really helpful for poorer people. Unfortunately, I don't think poor people would agree to this either. And it's a weird thing to do. It's almost like Microsoft wants to lose some Xboxes. They have too many in a factory somewhere, and they didn't want to pay the price of it sitting around. Very possibly the case with Toys R Us shutting down, that a lot of the Xboxes immediately came back to them, and now they don't want to pay the storage fees for them, and so they'd be willing to have people start these plans and then stop paying on the plans, and then try and repossess them, which it's highly unlikely Microsoft is going to actually try to repossess any of them. Microsoft does note, however, this is for a limited time offer and only for qualified customers. Even the cheaper $22 a month though is a hard sell, particularly for parents who wouldn't want their kids to want to spend the money on their kids to have an Xbox One anyways. That's a really hard sell, and I don't think it gets really improved by the fact that it's at a monthly plan. Yeah, Microsoft also said it's a limited time offer for qualified customers, which means they'll check your credit. But the other part about that certainly is also kids don't have jobs, so $22 a month might as well be the equivalent of $800 and $900, let's just round it up, at one time. Like, it's the same to a kid. If you've got no chance whatsoever of making any income, which most kids don't have any chance for good anti-labor exploitation law reasons. Like, the kids just will not get $22 a month. The kid cannot get a newspaper delivery job. A kid cannot mow lawns. You can try and do those things, but that you're not really gonna succeed, not nowadays. Particularly with the major hysteria of a child being on his own at all for any amount of time. And in many interpretations of the law in the United States and jurisdictions, it is literally illegal for a parent to leave a child alone for any amount of time whatsoever. So then a parent is potentially having to stay with the kid as they're doing their job, which means the parent's not working the job. So yeah, $22 a month is still too much. I don't know how they fix that, like, but that is weird.
That's incredible.
PC Gamer has a article that I'm just gonna skim through real quickly. 5 ways Cyberpunk 2077's gameplay demo somehow lives up to all that hype. This is literally PC Gamer hyping up Cyberpunk 2077. They say that it is now playable from beginning to end, which is not to say it's not to say that it's feature complete and fully polished in gold. Also, it gets more and more, I get the feeling that unlike Witcher 3, Cyberpunk 2077 may be very short. Imagine like Deus Ex Human Revolution, but only a third of that like that first act, maybe. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's actually really short. It might be a sprawling open area, but it still could be really short on story and things, which is part of the problem with reviewers right now, is that they're not really focusing on any story. They're probably not being shown any story, so the game could easily suck in that aspect.
What is my purpose?
Moving on, we have a game called Adera, A-D-E-R-A, on Steam. It says Jane Sinclair faces her greatest challenges. The mysterious city of Adera, solve puzzles, collect artifacts, and unlock secrets. It says it's an adventure game. Let's see. I don't know if this is one of these hidden object adventure games. It looks like it very much might be. These games always look pretty fancy, more fancy than they deserve to look, considering what they are. But you can usually tell when there's not going to be any 3D walking around environment interactions, which certainly gives the games a different feeling. Like, it makes them feel cheap, and it's kind of impossible to get away from that. It just feels really, really cheap when
Access denied.
when these games simply
I comply.
like lack the ability to be a first person or third person interaction. Adara doesn't look terrible. What is its price? 64 achievements seems really high. 15% off for $10.19. That seems really high. But I'm feeling generous, so I'll keep that one on the wish list. This will be our last game for this recording. Let's see. I don't know, I guess at this point I have to just attack the guy. Let's see, Gamatsu has an article. Hatsujo Sprinkle coming to the PS4, PS Vita, November 22nd in Japan. That's HATSUJOU, and then the word Sprinkle. It's a visual novel. Surprise, surprise. I did see a couple of visual novels that did make it through the what I guess we could call it the Great Stone Wall of Steam, but the actual number is still incredibly lower than what I have been seeing.
I comply. I comply.
PC Gamer has an article. A Half-Life 2 mod lets you stomp enemy heads just like Super Mario. Let me see if there's a video.
Let me change your mind.
Well, seems like you have the ability to wall run, and that's how you get the height. And then when you stomp on anybody's head, they just dissolve away, which you could certainly add something, I think, to the Half-Life universe to explain away how and why that worked.
Is someone injured?
Running low on cards. PC Gamer has an article. Skyrim Doppelganger mod lets you follow and marry yourself. So I guess that's kind of cool, but this is a really short article. Let's see, gain stealth until next one. Next we have a game called Pawn of the Dead, a 3D game based on chess in the style of battle chess. What makes it unique is the game is mechanic. When the black undead plays captures a white piece, the white piece turns into a black piece. Okay.
Is someone injured?
Looks like there's some decent animation, and one of the black chess pieces is barely wearing any armor at all. Lady. And getting back to the old school hard rock album cover styles of clothing. It seems like there's not a complete chess set. Instead, it is randomly generated levels and puzzles based on chess, which isn't a terrible thought. It's going to be early access. I would really like a modern battle chess. I kind of question whether the graphics look good enough here to be that. I kind of like the idea of doing puzzles instead of playing chess. I really think though that chess.com should just make their own game. Like that's really all they should do. Pawn of the Dead is $3.99, and I'll keep it on the wish list and keep an eye on it. Let's see. No user reviews right now. Of course, in the name, Pawn of the Dead is another incident of games just trying to manipulate people. PC Gamer has an article. The Cyberpunk 2077 gameplay demo is being streamed on Twitch. Apparently, like right now. Via Cyberpunk CD Projekt Red. So it's their own people that are streaming it.
Daddy, make toys out of you.
This really does look like it's just a better implementation of the idea of what the Walking Dead series by Telltale is supposed to be. Like, I'm starting to wonder if the... I should have healed this guy. I'm starting to wonder if the engine, the Telltale engine, can even do its QuickTime events at the in the same breath as doing the narrative dialogue sections, or if it actually has to go to black and change the camera angle to hide the fact that both of those parts of the engine are so separated that they can't even run back to back. Yeah, I'm watching a gameplay demo of Cyberpunk 2077, and it was just a bunch of people standing around, and I really don't have time to sit here and watch this whole thing, nor do I really have a reason to get hyper hyped about Cyberpunk 2077. Like, the best case scenario, it lives up to the hype. It probably won't, so almost certainly anybody who follows the hype train is just going to lead themselves to disappointment. Let's see. And we've got nobody that is online right now, so it's probably time to start sending random friend requests and challenge a friend. Yeah, Cyberpunk 2077 demo now has you driving in a car. Okay, cool enough. I'm gonna close that tab though. And this is the right point to end this recording, so as always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.